Hey guys, this is Tearless here. This is going to be my first game review and I'm doing it over Call of Duty Ghosts. Throughout this review, I'm going to be showing you multiplayer gameplay of Call of Duty Ghosts. And I apologize because it is awful. I have not been good at Call of Duty since Call of Duty 2, and so you will see some pretty pathetic and embarrassing footage of me trying to be good in Call of Duty. I hope it at least gives you a laugh as I go through this review, but no promises. I tried to string together my best my best stuff together. You'll see it kind of spliced together, and hopefully it's not too embarrassing. But on to Call of Duty Ghosts. First I'd like to talk about the story. The story was one of the worst. I love Modern Warfare's 1 and 2 story. I never played 3 or Black Ops 2 or the original Call of Duty, but all the other Call of Duty stories I love in the franchise. This is the first one that I was like, man, this really kind of it sucks. Like, I was like, man, when's this going to be over? And before I get into the things that I really didn't like about it, I will say the one thing I did like about it is the fact that they did something different from the U.S. versus communist nation or U.S. versus terrorist organization. They created a whole new federation, and they put it against each other. Uh, they made the U.S. the less powerful one, which was interesting. It was an interesting twist of what we're used to, so I really did like that. But that's about as good as the story got. From there, the main problem with the Call of Duty Ghosts storyline was that they had two different arcs. They had the arc dealing with the U.S. Federation War, and then they had the arc dealing with the Ghosts, and they constantly try and flip between them. Like, the Ghosts would be like, oh, we're doing our mission now, and then all of a sudden the Ghosts are like, oh, I guess we'll do the U.S. Federation mission now. And then there were times in which you weren't even controlling Ghosts. You were part of some random squatter unit that you had no connection to, and you couldn't care about at whatsoever. And it was in there for some reason. I don't know why, but it was in there. And as such, the people in your Ghost Squad, because you were only controlling them, you know, I'd say it was like 75% of the time, 75 to 80% of the time, they became unmemorable. Halfway through the game, I forgot who my brother was, and your brother is with you from the very beginning. The only one I can really remember is my dad and the dog, and the dog's the only one I really cared about. All the other people in the game, I didn't really care if they died or they survived. I was kind of like, you know, whatever. You know, it's not that important to me. And that's how it was throughout the entire storyline. They didn't do any type of thing to make you actually feel connected to the other characters in your squad, which was disappointing. You know, if the ghosts were supposed to be so special, they should have done something to explain in depth maybe each person's, you know, tie to the ghost storyline more. You know, or maybe describe, you know, maybe a past ghost, you know, what he did and so forth. They could have done things to make you more attached to ghosts. And they did. I could care less about any of the ghosts that are ever presented in the storyline. And because of that, the whole ghost storyline is really kind of poorly presented. And the fact that it's tied in with the U.S. Federation War makes them conflict, and makes it even worse. They really do need to do some work with the ghost storyline. It possibly has potential, but and they left it open for there to be more. But I hope they do a lot better job with it. Uh, with that being said, the only other thing that I felt in the storyline is that it was really predictable. Like, I was like, okay, this is gonna happen next, and this is gonna happen next. Oh, this is obvious. And, you know, oh, I find out said thing, try not to give away spoilers, you know, I'd find out one thing, and I'd be like, oh, this is definitely going to happen next. You know, I wish they would have done it, you know, kind of made me surprised a little bit. I remember in I can't remember Modern Warfare 1 or Modern Warfare 2 or maybe Black Ops 1, like, I was like, no way! Can't believe that just happened. Never felt that in this game, you know. Maybe it's because I was expecting too much. I mean, I remember Call of Duty games in which I'd stay up through the entire night playing the single player because I was like, man, this is awesome. And this one I was like, man, I'll pick it up later, you know. I'll pick it up, I'll finish it and pick it up later. So they really could work on that. In terms of graphics in this game, they're mediocre at best. They really did a bad job with this. And I know this is a cross-gen platform, but Battlefield, Assassin's Creed, and Need for Speed were all cross-gen as well, and they looked way better than Call of Duty. And it's probably because of Call of Duty's engine being so bad. I, they can improve upon this, and I wish they would improve upon this, but I don't know if they ever will. They need to make a new engine that's up to date. Uh, EA uses the Frostbite 3 engine now, and the Frostbite 3 engine they even use with Need for Speed Rivals. Need for Speed Rivals looks good for it. I wish they would update the engine and they would make it a whole lot better, and that way maybe the graphics will be a lot better, but otherwise it seems like they're just redoing it. The graphics are never, they never improve in this game at all. Another thing I didn't like, the lighting effects sometimes wash out everything in this game, which was disappointing, and like everything was blurred together, and that's also probably because the entire palette, the color palette that they use is really grayish. If you play Black Ops 2, it's got a kind of vibrant color palette, like everything, like full spectrum of color. Everything's kind of more on a grayish palette on this thing, and that's what kind of I've noticed, you know, playing through it and so forth. I was kind of disappointed. In terms of sound, the sounds are your usual Call of Duty, unauthentic, extremely cheesy, arcadey sound. It doesn't sound, I mean, they put no effort to it. I think they just redo the sound every time. It's really disappointing. I wish they would do more with it, but I don't know if they'll ever do it. The music is non-existent and not important. Music is supposed to supplement the story in the multiplayer and make it more intensive, make it more emotional, make it everything. You know, it's the thing that ties it together and or enhances the experience, and it's not there in this game at all. Kind of disappointing. I wish they would do that. Both sound and graphics just really are not there in Call of Duty Ghosts. As far as design mechanics, there is one thing that I think they did do well as far as the design mechanics, and I know some people are going to hate me for this, but the balance between the guns and the counters and so forth, they actually do pretty well. You know, whether it's like you're carrying an LMG and you're walking slower, stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff that the balance that you don't see in a lot of first-person shooters. Like they put out their first iteration and they're like, ah, we're done. In Call of Duty, they're constantly tweaking stuff and making it better. And when I was playing through multiplayer, I'd see so many people with different weapons, even more so than Black Ops 2. I would see, you know, the full, I mean, there would be some weapons that, you know, people wouldn't use ever, and there would be, you know, some popular weapons like the MTAR and so forth. But for the most part, like, I saw full spectrum of weapons being used in this game, which is good. That means that, you know, everyone's using different types of weapons, and you're getting I guess a full variety and change of it. Now, in terms of some of the things I didn't like about it, in terms of the story mode, the cars in the story mode are placed awkwardly. They place doodads and whatnot in the story mode, and they clutter the playing field, thinking that it looks better when it just looks unauthentic, and it just lack of detail. They're like, oh, we'll just toss a whole bunch of stuff in here and people will think it looks good. It doesn't. There's so many times I'm going through the campaign, I'm like, why is a car here? Why is a car here? Even for a post-apocalyptic area that it was supposed to be, I didn't understand why they did that. And, you know, there's nothing I can, you know, they could have put more effort and detail into making that a lot better. They put in story mode, they put vehicles in. Infinity Ward's the masters of copying. I felt like they've always copied Treyarch and made stuff better. Now that Infinity Ward no longer has its original, I guess, founders, they copy stuff and they make stuff worse. And that's what they did. They brought in vehicles from Battlefield 4. I don't know why, but they did. And the tank and the helicopter that you play in those missions are the most arcadey pieces of junk ever. I don't know why it wasn't fun. There was no reason for it to be in there. It was extremely gimmicky. Don't know why it was in there. It was like putting it in there just for the sake of being like Battlefield 4. I don't know why. And then the biggest thing that's a huge problem with the mechanics of this game is the spawn system. People complain about the maps in the game. I actually kind of liked all the maps. They weren't too bad. But the maps were like just a little too big for 6-on-6, and then they were too small for ground war, and that made things really difficult. The spawn system was terrible. I'm playing ground war, and I'm constantly spawning and getting killed instantaneously by some fool that just spawned or spawned next to me or something, or me spawning right next to him and just mowing me down. That is the worst thing in this game, was the spawn system, and it made the game feel way faster paced than it really needed to be. They really need to work on the spawn system in this game. Other than that, I mean, there's a lot of other design mechanics that I didn't like, but that's mostly in multiplayer. In multiplayer, the kill streak system was not fun. I remember like getting a kill streak in Black Ops 2. I'm like, yes, this is gonna be awesome, and I would get skill streak and I would use it and I'd be like, yeah, I killed, 4 or 5 people with it. In this one, it wasn't fun to get a kill streak. The one thing I did like is the fact that there was assault versus support, which was kind of cool. But otherwise, why? I mean, why do you have kill streaks done by like how many player kills you get? Why are you not getting rewarded for the objective based things inside the game? And that's one thing that was disappointing. I wish they could have done a better job with that. I hope that they keep the assault versus support kill streak when they bring it, when Sledgehammer Games does their iteration of Call of Duty. I did like the assault versus support kill streak methods, and I hope they keep that, but they really need to go back to the point system that was in the old one. Now, the unlock system of the game was incredibly complex, and it was really annoying. It was like an exponential curve. It took forever to get into and get enough squad points. You're like, I want to try this one, I want to try this weapon. Oh, I've got to unlock all these attachments for this weapon. Like, you should be able to unlock an attachment once, and you should be able to equip it, across all your sniper rifles or whatever. Or unlock this attachment once and unlock it across all your assault, weapons. They needed to do the unlock system was annoying. I hope that they go back to the old system of just leveling up and you get your guns as you go, and then your guns are what allows you to unlock more stuff within your using your gun allows you to unlock more stuff. I hope they go with that method because it was a lot better. Another thing that was stupid was squad orders, or should I say gimmick orders. Kill a person while jumping, or I think another one was teabagging someone after you kill them. Those are gimmick orders. They're not squad orders. Squad orders to me are like, go capture this objective, or defend, like, can they tell you like, hey, capture point A is starting to get a lot of pressure, go defend capture point A, or so and so on the other team is on like a 5 kill streak, go take out him. Those are squad orders. Don't give me something stupid like jumping and killing someone. This isn't Halo, okay? This is Call of Duty. And so overall, the multiplayer, the leveling is brutal in the beginning, and then all of a sudden, once you've gotten everything you kind of like, you've got tons of extra squad points. You've got squad points galore, and you're like, okay, well now what do I do with all these squad points? They need to simplify the either simplify the unlock system, or they need to go back to the old unlock system, because it was not fun at all. Otherwise, the multiplayer did have its value in gameplay. As far as gameplay as this goes, even though I could not stand many elements of this one, Black Ops 2 was so much better in every way. Every YouTuber is going back to Black Ops 2. Even though that is happening, the gameplay of this thing, I still got to rank 38 or so. Like, I played several hours. It was like maybe 4 or 5 days worth of hours, which compared to like some huge Call of Duty fans isn't much, but that's a lot of time to play for a game. So it still has great gameplay value. However, it's just not as fun as Black Ops 2, and that's probably because of the score streak system that they put in. It's much better with the point system where you actually get rewarded for objectives, and that's something I'd really like to see them put in. I'd like to see them put in the better kill streaks that were in Black Ops 2 that made the game fun. Otherwise, as a game, I give this 6.9, and I feel that's kind of being generous. I didn't weight the story as much because I feel like you either need story or multiplayer in a FPS. You don't need them both. but in this game they kind of hacked it on both, and it was really disappointing. So a 6.9. This is my first game review. If you have any questions, comments, just send me a message in YouTube. Otherwise, Tearless out. See ya.